Day 2 of Module 11 with circles. We are still looking at our learning target, finding the equation of circles, but this will be day 2, so we're trying to, our success criteria will be to write an equation of a circle by changing it from standard form by completing the square. Okay, so this is going to be in a general form rather than a standard form, is what's going to end up happening here. So that's, again, our goal is to find the center and radius, or find the equation of that circle and put it in standard form to be able to find it, because remember, we want it in x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, and then that equals my radius squared. So we want it to be in that form if we can. So because remember, the center is HK and R is my radius. Okay, so if I look at this, this is, again, is not in that standard form, but it is an equation of a circle because I have an x squared and a y squared. So whenever you have x squared and y squared, you know you've got an equation if you graphed it. Okay, so here is the process. We're gonna complete the square here with this. So what I want to do is I'm going to rewrite this equation. I'm going to reorganize it so the x's are by each other, the y's are by each other, and then the constant is going to be on the other side of the equal sign. So here's how this looks. I'm going to put x squared minus 8x, put those x's together. I'm going to leave a little space. You'll see y here in just a little bit. And then y squared plus 4y, and then leave a little space, and then put equals, and I'm going to minus this 8 to the other side. So I'm going to have negative 8 on this other side. So I want the x's together, the y's together, and then the constant on the other side by itself. Okay? Once I've done that, I've got to complete the square for 2 of these. So I'm just going to look at the x's to start with. I'm going to take this term that's with the x, not the x squared, and I'm going to half it. So I'm going to half and then square it. Okay, so half of 8, again, I'm going to go negative 8. Okay, and divide it by 2, and then I'm going to square that. So that'd give you negative 4 squared, which would give you 16. Okay, that I'm going to add right to the back side. That's why I left a little gap. But I also have to add it to the other side as well, because what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. I'm also going to take this y and do the same thing. I'm going to half it and square it. So when I half that one, again, this one's going to be 4 divided by 2 and then square it. That'll give me 2 squared, which would give me 4. That is what I'm going to add to both sides as well. So I'm going to add 4 to both of those sides. Okay. Once I've got that, I'm just going to, again, just look at just my x equation, and I'm going to factor that. So you got to think back to your factoring skills. I've got x squared. I'm just going to do this right over here. I've got x squared minus 8x plus 16. I've got to factor that. So if you remember, we're going to times a and c together. That would give me 16. I need 2 numbers that will multiply to 16. Okay, so I need 2 numbers that will give me 16 when I multiply them. And when I add them, it gives me my middle number of negative 8. So we're going to go negative 4 and negative 4, and it should always be the same number with this completing the square. Because again, negative 4 times negative 4 gives me 16, negative 4 plus negative 4 gives me negative 8. So once I've done that, I can write my factors. Remember, this would be x minus 4 and x minus 4, but I don't want to write it like that because it's the exact same. I can write it as x minus 4 squared, because that means the same thing as this. Okay, so again, this is equivalent to x minus 4 squared right here. Okay, that's awesome. That's what we want to do with that. Okay. Then I'm going to look at my y's and do the exact same thing. I'm going to factor that. So multiply a and c together. 1 times 4 is 4. I'm looking for two numbers. Again, I've got y plus 4, y plus 4. Again, a times c is 4. Looking for two numbers that when I multiply them, they give me 4. And when I add them, they give me the middle number 4 as well. So this would be 2 and 2, 2 and 2. So that would be y plus 2 and y plus 2. And that would give me y plus 2 squared. So that's what I'm going to replace this with, is y plus 2 squared. And then I'm just going to add all this stuff together. So negative 8 plus 16 is positive 8, plus 4 is 12. So if I'm trying to find the center and the radius for this, again, my center is going to be 4, negative 2, because HK, it's always the opposite signs. And then my radius is going to be the square root of that number, square root of 12, which I can just leave it as a square root of 12. That works. For that, if you really want to put 2 square roots of 3, you can too, but that would be the right value for that. Okay? So that's that whole process. We're going to put our x's together, our y's together, and then the constant on the other side. And then I'm going to half and square the linear term or the x term and add that number to both sides. Half and square the y term and add that to both sides, and then factor. So, okay? That's your process. That's how you do this. So let's just go through a couple of different examples. I probably won't write every single thing down, but we're going to go through a couple of examples. Okay, so we're going to organize it. Again, I would leave yourself a space. Okay. All right, then we're going to take the 2 and half it. Half of 2 is 1. And then 1 squared is also 1. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Okay. Then I go to my y, so negative 18. I'm going to half it. Half of negative 18 is negative 9. And then I'm going to square negative 9. That would give you 81. Okay. And then I just need to factor both of these. So I look at just this x part, two numbers that multiply to 1 and add to 2. That would be x plus 1 and x plus 1. But I can write that as x plus 1 squared. Then I look at my y's. Two numbers that multiply to 81 and add to negative 18 would be negative 9. And negative 9. So negative 9 squared. And then I'm going to add all these other together. Negative 46 plus 1 is negative 45. And then if I plus 81, that would give me 36 for this one. Okay. So my center would be at negative 1, 9. And my radius would be the square root of 36, which is equal to 6. And that would be what I'm looking for there. Okay, let's look at this bottom one. As well, again, reorganize everything. So I've got x squared minus 14x. Leave a space, so plus y squared minus 10y. And then if you notice, the constant's already on the other side, so we're good with that. Okay, going to find the number here by completing the square, so half it. So half of negative 14 is negative 7. 7 squared is positive 49. I'm going to add that to both sides. Then I'm going to go to the y. So I'm going to look at negative 10. Half of negative 10 is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. So I'm going to add 25 to both sides. Okay. Once you're done with that, we are going to factor. Just going to take just the x's, two numbers that multiply to 49, and add to negative 14. are negative 7 and negative 7. So this would be x minus 7, or I can write it as x minus 7 squared. And then, again, two numbers that then I'm going to take care of my y's. Two numbers that multiply 25 and add negative 10 would be negative 5 and negative 5. But I can write that as y minus 5 squared twice. And then I'm just going to add the other side. So negative 64 plus 49 is negative 15. And then I'm going to add 25 to that. And that gives me, again, 10 for that as well. So my center is at the 0.75. And my radius is at the square root of 10, which I can just leave that just like that because that won't come out evenly. Okay, that's how we're identifying centers and radiuses when it's not in standard form. All right, we'll see you. Bye.